takeover of the hosting world, but
there you go.
You believed in me early, and I thank you for that, brother. I really.
Listen, that was. I gotta thank you. Like that was embedded in you. You know, I remember seeing you, and I think we were in Atlanta, and you were hosting something, and I was just like, oh my God, like he got these people eating out the palm of his hands. Like we got to do something.
Yeah. Well, I took that trip, brother, and I was just watching and seeing, and obviously, you know, your crates go from A to Z, and I was just hearing musically what you had to offer. Then, you know, you're a showman when it comes to DJing too. So you're scratching the building, you're transforming things, man. I just always respected your craft, man. Looked up to you in a major way, man. So I just want to start the conversation off with that.
I appreciate it.
Oh, now I want to go back, Jeff.
Definitely.
You know, I think I want to go back. Are you there? I want to go back, Jeff, because I think that, you know, in history, you know, we get erased sometimes. You know, our offering doesn't quite come across as clear as it did when it was popping. And, yeah. You know, you were 10 years old, I think, when you first like saw it and really wanted to do it. Can you please talk about that? Because what I don't think people understand, when you started DJing, hip hop wasn't in full effect.
No, hip hop wasn't in effect.
Yeah.
It wasn't in effect. I mean, you know, just, you know, the era before the DJ was the band, that everybody was in some kind of a band. My brothers were in bands, and, you know, the block parties, it was bands. And then there was always the guy that played music between the bands and made everybody dance. And I used to really, you know, at 10 years old, go to the block parties, and I would just sit on my bike and watch this guy play music and control the crowd. Like, that was really what it was. I was like, he's like a Pied Piper, because he plays music and they react. He play another song and they react. He plays another song and they react. But watching how he could slow something down or, you know, change the tempo or change the vibe, and it changed the vibe of everybody there. I'm like, wow, like he's the puppet master. And it was like, I really want to do that. You know, music is something, you know, I said yesterday to somebody that if you take your favorite movie scene and mute the music, it's not your favorite movie scene no more. Like, that's how important music is. Music sets the tone. And when I saw the guys setting the tone to have a good time, I wanted to be one of them guys.
Let me ask this question, Jeff, because this is pre-hip hop.
Yeah.
1975, 1976. What was the music? Because if you're seeing this guy perform this musical exorcism and people kind of, you know, flowing into his, you know, his under his command, like what are those songs of that era?
That was all like Brass Construction and Mass Production and Confunction and Cameo. You know, we didn't have hip hop yet.
Yeah.
So we had those records, you know, Shake Your Pants and Rigor Mortis by Cameo. I Just Want to Make Your Dream Come True by Mass Production and Moving, Brass Construction. You know, that was the music that was being played at these block parties. And then so when hip hop came along, that was the first time that I felt like somebody made something for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because Brass Construction, as much as I loved it and that was my music, that was actually my brother's music.
Right.
Like, hip hop was mine. It was kind of like, okay, you know, this is different.
And so you getting hip hop around what? So you're in 75, you were 10. So hip hop came what? Into the 70s, right?
Yeah, into the 70s. And it was just really one of those things like, you know, there was a point in time, early days of hip hop, that it almost seemed like a new hip hop record came out every day.
Right.
Because
what was the first hip hop record you heard that fucked you up?
Well, Rapper's Delight was the first one that got me. King Tim III was the first one that I heard.
Right, but Rapper's Delight
really crazy because King Tim III was made by the Fatback Band, which was actually a funk and soul band.
Wow. You got to play that record for me. But for all them young that don't know what Rapper's Delight is, you got to hear it one time. You know, we got some 24-year-olds on this motherfucker.
Yeah.
This the dance. We're gonna do the new dance to the old shit. Take pop
there you go.
When When I first heard this record,
it did something to you.
That bass line, now mind you, in 1970, when was it, 9?
Yep.
When this record came out, I was 6 years old. But I remember my mama playing the shit out this record.
Yeah.
So you heard that record. You heard that record, Jeff, and what happened, man? Because I know for a fact, and I'm just gonna speak musically, my knowledge of music, that bass line was relative to the times, but it was so unique with the rapping on top of it.
Yeah.
Special.
Well, the crazy thing about that is early hip hop was attached to the DJ. The DJ used to cut breaks and the rappers used to rap over the breaks. If you listen to Rapper's Delight, all Rapper's Delight is a band, because the DJs used to cut Good Times. So, you know, when we started making, you know, rap, people weren't sampling or they weren't using the actual record. They were getting bands to come in. Like if you listen to a lot of those, Feel the Heartbeat was Tanya Gardner's Heart and played for the Treacherous Three. So it was before we could get to somebody who's actually cutting and scratching. That is what was going on. Transferred on wax is it was kind of like, you know, we didn't know how to make records with records. So they would bring a band in and be like, listen, you know, I need you to play Good Times, you know, or play something like Good Times, and they're gonna rap over it.
Right. So you're at 79. You're 19 years old ish. So you're still a teenager in 79. You're in high school. The music is changing, fashion is changing to match the music. You haven't met Fresh Prince yet, but you're starting to define who you were as a DJ in Philly. What was that experience?
Oh man, listen, it was probably a DJ and a rapper on every street because it exploded, and it was just, you know, you kind of had to do it in a way like I was controlling a 5-block area, and then all of a sudden somebody in South Philly invites me to come down and DJ, and I DJ a block party. Now you got fans in South Philly, and then you end up going to Mount Airy and doing the same thing, and now you got fans in Mount Airy. You know, you had to almost take it by territory, you know, each time, and it was more important to have alliances. I needed to align myself with Cosmic Kev in Mount Airy. I needed to align myself with Grandmaster Nell in South Philly. You know, we weren't enemies. It was kind of like, you know, if I'm doing a block party in West Philly, I'm going to invite you out and let you get on. So that's how you kind of got your rep in the city. And then, you know, Jersey and Delaware is, you know, 15 minutes away from each other. So you end up doing something in Jersey and you end up doing something in Delaware, and you slowly kind of gain your reputation and gain your following like that.
Yo, it just fucked me up when you said I had a 5-block radius. You sound like Nino Brown. This whole 5 block, but then I wanted to go to the other territories.
That's it.
Lock in with the other Crips and Bloods. It sound like some whole gangster gang dope boy shit.
I mean, that's the way we had to kind of treat it, because, you know, you're not pulling up on somebody else's block with a bunch of equipment and starting to DJing when they got their own DJ.
Right.
You know, so you kind of got to like, listen, I need to be invited in your neighborhood to do that.
So Jeff, so you're making your mark in Philly, all over Philly, north, south, east, west. You're going over into Delaware. You're bleeding over into Jersey. You there? You heard that?
Yeah. What'd you say?
I said you're making your name in Philly. You're in South Philly. You're North Philly. Now you're in Delaware. You're bleeding over into Jersey. So as you become getting this name, are you seeing the effect that DJs were having on the rappers and how powerful the DJ was for the rapper in those days? Because you guys, they didn't say the rapper's name first. They said the DJ first. We're going to get into that.
Well, you know what's crazy? We were imitating what we thought was going on in New York. Like, New York's culture was about the rapper, and we started almost taking DJ first, and the rapper basically bigged up the DJ. So when you don't have the internet, the only things we're getting Cold Crush tapes from New York, 19th generation. Right. But this is our only insight into a world that we were creating. We thought this is how it was. We thought like, oh no, the rapper, he busts his rhymes, but he talks about how dope the DJ is. And that's what kind of separated us, from New York. That it was kind of like, it used to always get people saying like Philly is the home of the DJ. And it was only that because we thought that's how it was in New York, not realizing that, no, it was the opposite way around.
You know what's crazy? Philly doesn't get a lot of credit just musically in general. I mean, you guys had the Philadelphia sound prior to, this DJ movement that you spearheaded. What was that like now being, finding out that New York isn't doing what you're doing? You guys are kind of the best. And then you create the fucking Transformer scratch. Can you please expound on that, my brother?
You know what? You don't realize what you're doing when you do it.
Right.
You don't realize the impact. As far as I was concerned, I'm DJing for people in the neighborhood. You don't think that you're making any kind of cultural impact. That didn't come until, we started to even think about making records. Making records wasn't on the table. We was rocking parties, have fun, get girls, and it got to a point that, you start seeing somebody pop out with a record and it was like, wow, like that's crazy. And it really became a thing of, I want to make a record because one day I'll be able to show